Hello everybody and welcome back to the Overlap Breakdown channel. Manchester United are back and we're here to I actually can't say that. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Overlap Breakdown channel. I'm here this morning to cover why Manchester United deserve to beat Arsenal in their recent 3-2 win as Manchester United go 2-0-0 under Michael Carrick. Okay, welcome back to the Overlap Breakdown channel. Obviously, we're here at the crack of dawn and it was a lot easier getting out of bed this morning once again as Michael Carrick has delivered another 3 points in what is to me the toughest game in Europe at the moment, which is Arsenal away. And the way Manchester United went there and won, this is probably the most optimistic and happy and satisfied I guess you could possibly be with Michael Carrick and Manchester United at this moment in time. And I'm stunned, honestly. I'm absolutely shocked, and I cannot believe we've gone 6 points in these two games. Given where we were before this, we're now fourth in the table. I'm not sure if we've been there at the Premier League in the top four so far in the Premier League season, so we've gone and done that. Arsenal have conceded 7 goals prior to this game in 16 games in all competitions at home. Manchester United have just gone there and whacked 3 in. Manchester United are the first team to win back-to-back Premier League games, with both coming against sides that start in the day in the top 2 positions since 2010, which was Everton. Arsenal's record when scoring first this season prior to this game was 24 games played, 24 wins. Manchester United have now got a loss on that record. And an Arsenal player hasn't scored from open play in 217 minutes of football. Now, I am going to go immediately on into talking about the games because, as I mentioned before, we've got a lot to get through today. But I do want to hone in more on why Arsenal were pretty easy to get at in this game that we watched, and why they never really looked like scoring despite them having so much territory, possession, dominance in terms of having the ball possession. So this is the 4th lowest open play XG total that Arsenal have accumulated in a game in the Premier League this season, with Manchester United's other fixture, the reverse fixture, actually being second least under Amorim on the opening day. Now, it was 0.39, so the fact that it's 3 games below that is really bad. But I want to talk to you just about the first goal. And for me, there was a lot of talk about Martin Zubimendi, dropping a clanger and all this sort of stuff. And I was a bit sympathetic towards him, but I was also in the idea that it was his fault, but not in the way that other people were talking about. So I've mentioned this a lot with Arsenal on the channel, and if you listen to Harry Maguire's post-match press conference on this game, if you listen to the way Michael Carrick talks about this game, they all reference the Liverpool game. Now, what Liverpool did quite well in the game against Arsenal was they sat in and they played more in a zonal mid-block. Now, I've mentioned this when we talked about Carrick coming to Manchester United when we were analysing his Middlesbrough side. Now, I want to talk to you about what I mean by this zonal man-man stuff and what it actually means. Now, if you watch the goal that Arsenal scored first off in the game against United to go 1-0 up, you can actually see that Nketiah has dropped a little bit deeper in. So Arsenal's fullbacks like to join in the midfield line. So what happens is Nketiah is in this line here, and they've got Timber the either side of Gabriel Jesus, and it looks a little bit like this. Now what happens is Nketiah, so they play a wall pass off Jesus like this. The United line jumps a little bit further forward like that, and Nketiah comes to get the ball and he receives it here. Now, what Mbeumo was supposed to do, and if you go and watch the goal back, you can see Dalot like flinging his arms up to say to Mbeumo, don't go. But an Arsenal player receives it outside the block in no real danger point of the pitch. So Mbeumo looks to close him down, and because he closes him down, Nketiah gets a run in behind into this space and delivers a ball which they eventually score from. Now, what Mbeumo is doing there is almost moving away from them zonal principles and going more man for man. That's his man, so he jumps onto his man. Now, if I look at the flip side of what happened in the game, was when Manchester United equalised, it was played out a lot better from the players, and I want to explain to you why that's the case. So Arsenal had Nketiah, same as before, right on the line here, and they had 3 build-up players like this. Now, if you go and watch the goal, yes, it's a massive clanger from Zubimendi, but I want to talk to you about how Manchester United forced the mistakes, and there's been a lot of talk about it was a lucky game, but I think Manchester United forced a lot of the luck in the game. So In this build-up shape, Zubimendi and Rice are sitting in front like this. Now what happens, we've mentioned this a lot again on the channel when we talk about Arsenal, is Zubimendi comes and stands right here. And he gets the ball, and that means Timber pushes on, and Dargu stood round about here to play onto him. Now, Arsenal have dropped someone into the back line to get a +1 against these two strikers, even though they already had it with Jury and Timber stood next to him. Now, because of the zonal principles that we're talking about in Michael Carrick, he isn't followed. He's not really picked up on the ball. Now, what happens is as soon as the ball is worked out here, Mbeumo curves his run, Bruno curves his run outside, and Casemiro or Menu follows Declan Rice as he sits in front as Timber looks to get forward. Now, this is actually a really good example. I've set it up really well. Declan Rice makes a run off the shoulder here, and it is the most obvious pass to break through the press from Zubimendi to pass this ball right here and try and go right the way through Manchester United. Arsenal didn't do that, and this is where I'm talking about the risk element and the difference between Manchester United creating their own look and taking shots and taking risk in the game to Arsenal not doing that. Zubimendi looks at this run from Declan Rice. He doesn't take it. He doesn't take the pass. The forward line sits a little bit deeper. Saliba comes up there. And then what happens is there's a massive gap between all of Arsenal's players, and Manchester United have got something like this up against Arsenal. All the passing lanes are shut off because everyone's made runs ahead of the ball and they've not been found. So Zubimendi plays it off Saliba, gets it back, and then obviously the curved runs. Mbeumo stays in the blind side. He forces the ball backwards, and then Mbeumo latches onto it, and it's 1-1. Now, a lot of people, yes, it is a massive error from Zubimendi on the ball, but this error stems from Arsenal not taking risks by passing the ball forward. Declan Rice has made a brilliant run for Zubimendi to find. He doesn't find him. But it also comes down to Manchester United choosing the right times to jump in that zonal mid-block. As we mentioned, when Carrick first joined, in the Manchester Derby preview, in the Manchester Derby review, all of this stems from what Steve Holland, what Michael Carrick have worked on, which is this more reserved block that Liverpool had, but then timing the jumps to stand on space, not in man. So just because Arsenal are rotating Zubimendi and Timber and vice versa, Manchester United aren't worried about that. Manchester United will let Zubimendi drop into the back line and be a +1. They don't really care to go man-to-man with Zubimendi. He's not going to cause any harm there against Manchester United when they're sat in a zonal block like this. What's he going to do from there? He's not really going to do anything. So that's the first goal analysed. I'm now going to move on into the second and third goal as we introduce more data and more of the tactics that Michael Carrick's team used. If you're enjoying the video and want more tactical analysis and podcasts, please press the subscribe button below and hit the bell to enable post notifications. Okay, now moving on into the second goal of the game for Manchester United, which is looking at Dargu's magnificent strike. And just before we get on to this, obviously, Dargu is becoming somewhat of a beast. Now, We've analysed him on the channel, and I think we talked about when he played right wing for Lecce and stuff like that, and what the idea was with Dargu long term at Manchester United. And I think he's been nothing short of brilliant, like in these last few weeks. I thought when he got bought and he was chucked right in, I thought it was almost hard done by, because he had no backup in that left wing position, or that left wing back position or left back position, to do what he does. And I think his physical energy, his profile, he's just so good, and it obviously makes sense as to why he does a lot of good stuff on the back foot as well. But yeah, just before we get into this goal, he's been magnificent for the last few weeks, and massive credit to him because he's a young lad. It was his first couple of massive games at Manchester United, I would say as well. So yeah, he's come into it, and I'm just really happy for him, because I thought he got a lot of scrutiny. I thought he got chucked under the bus quite a lot when he first started because of how young he was. But we are going to move on into this goal. Now, I want to touch on straight away what Manchester United were doing on the ball when they got higher up into the opposition's half. Now, I noticed this a little bit against City, but I didn't really cover it too extensively when we did the review. But what Manchester United were looking to do was this essence of overloading one side of the pitch. Now, what they've done in the last two games is not incorporate like an actual centre forward up front on the line. Now, we put a short out, which is actually pretty funny, saying Carrick shouldn't change his team because the same dynamics where we had in Mbeumo and Bruno drifting in front could cause Arsenal the same problems as it caused City. But for different reasons. So on the ball, Arsenal are always going to go man for man with the centre-backs like this. They're always going to latch on. Now, the problem is for Arsenal is when Manchester United don't play with a natural centre-forward like in Bumo, and they don't play with a natural 10 like Bruno Fernandes, and these two players are just given the freedom to chase the ball side of where the ball goes. So for Dorgu's goal, there's a sequence where Manchester United almost kill the possession, and it's given as like a little bit of a long ball, and it comes off Hincapié or Saliba or Gabriel, can't remember who exactly it is. And because Manchester United haven't got anyone on the centre line or anyone, pinning up against them, when the first contact is won, similar to the Liverpool away game, when the first contact is won and it's headed back into this dead space, Manchester United have got so many bodies around the ball to retrieve that second ball. And we've seen this work under Michael Carrick. We've seen it work under Ruben Amorim. But what we have seen in Michael Carrick's tenure so far is the training sessions that have been captured both on the YouTube channel and the socials. They've been working on rondos and breaking through rondos. So we're talking about running into the rondo, winning the ball back in a short period of time, like 5-10 seconds, then running with the ball, escaping the rondo and having a shot. Now that is what this game was set up perfectly for, because if you watch the Dorgu goal, where they're playing in these tight combinations, think of the Mateus Cunha winner that we're going to go on to talk about, the Mainu sort of knitted pass through the centre, that is what Manchester United are currently appreciating a lot more under Michael Carrick, which is this essence of small space stuff. And so when the ball is worked here, Manchester United can kill the ball within this small space, reset the ball, it goes all the way back round the line, back to Martinez. Dorgu comes a little bit more narrow inside the pitch and he pings that ball through, and then it's a nice couple of 1-2s. And don't get me wrong, the strike is absolutely unbelievable. Now, just to jump off the back of that goal and how we've explained it tactically, I want to talk about the intentions and what Manchester United are doing differently under Michael Carrick. And you can't really analyse this on a stat sheet, and it is an eye test sort of thing, but I do want to say that we've got one stat to try and pin this home. So Lisandro Martinez made the most line-breaking passes of any player at the Emirates last night and leads all Manchester United players in the Premier League since his return to the starting 11 on Boxing Day, with 55 line-breaking passes in 6 games. Now, Lisandro Martinez is one of the best centre-halves I've seen on the ball at this club for a very long time. It's the other side of the coin that's often criticised. If we're talking about Manchester United's intentions under Michael Carrick, and I've got a quote from Harry Maguire to explain this further, the intentions for me are a lot more clearer in terms of the DNA of what we've always mentioned about the methodical side of this club. I'm talking about, when I talk about Manchester United and I'm talking about the DNA, and people often lose track of what it is and they talk about Ferguson and stuff like this, it's not anything to do with that. It's thinking forward, it's knowing when to play through, it's knowing how to attack the space, it's knowing how to hit the most dangerous pass the most often in the game. And intentions are taught on the training ground, but you can't really measure them. But for me, the intentions when I watch Manchester United, if you watch the game, Harry Maguire, Lisandro Martinez both have these carries down the side with the ball. Maguire had it twice and he just goes on a run down the side, just goes on a run, tries to get the ball high up the pitch and then just links up in the midfield. Martinez had one where he was dancing with the ball here, he gets all the way into the corner and he fouls Saka quite high up. But the intentions between them two, when we're talking about bringing the ball at the back, playing with the ball at your feet, being brave on the ball, they're much clearer for me. And if I'm looking at the United of the last 18 months, we've often been a team that has this slow, stagnant positional football. That isn't Manchester United for me. And I know a lot of people might disagree, but what this is to me. And I almost felt like, I know a lot of people say it, and I'm trying not to get carried away, but I probably will. I feel like I can recognise Manchester United. When I watch these last 2 games, I can recognise it. And it's a lot more familiar to me. And we're talking about 2 teams who are very, very different teams. We're talking about a Manchester United team that take risks, that hit the big spaces, that play off the cuff. And because they were that risky in the game and because they had that embodiment of instinct and intention, they beat Arsenal. And Arsenal were the team in this game who refused to take the risks. Therefore, their intentions weren't to win. Their intentions were to win and they didn't earn their own luck. You can talk about luck, you can talk about this, that and the other. Below 0.4 open play expected goals from Arsenal. Manchester United had more in the game. But if we're talking about having quality players, and Arsenal have got them as well, Saka, Eze, Trossard, they've got them as well, Jesus. But Can you imagine an Arsenal team winning a game playing like that? Can you imagine an Arsenal team having the intention to go and risk the game like that? Even when I think we were 3-2 up, Carrick put on a striker and moved Cunha to left wing. The intentions are to win, and they're a lot more familiar to me. And just before I go into analyse that final Cunha goal, I'm going to give you a quote to explain exactly what I mean here. Harry Maguire, after the game to Sky Sports, they put us on the back foot so much, but we knew when we watched the game against Liverpool, and they did the same in the first half here. We got a grip of the game and started to be a bit more brave on the ball. We started playing through the middle, finding passes between the lines, and I thought we opened them up. I thought we were comfortable on the ball in the second half. Their biggest threat was set plays, and to score one, it was a scrappy goal to concede, but we have the quality to hurt teams, and we did that today. If you listen to Carrick, you listen to Harry Maguire talk after this game, or even after Manchester City, it's all about intentions, being brave, connecting between the lines, getting on the ball, getting control. And don't get me wrong, the City game was a very, very different game to this, because this was more structured. City game was more constantly hitting space and constantly looking like we're going to score. The chances are few and far in this game, but Manchester United made their own chances because their intent was there and because they were playing off the cuff, because they were risky. And I just think when I look at that game, I've never seen two teams that are so different in terms of their intentions. Arsenal are a brilliant, brilliant football team. I've always stood by that. I think they are the best team in Europe. But I do think at times Arsenal really do struggle to just drop that risk-averse nature and to just throw the kitchen sink at it. I hate talking about it with Arsenal because it's just said all the time. But we're here to talk about Manchester United more importantly. And I think more than anything, the intentions in the game look far, far different from the intentions of the last few months, I will say. So we are going to move on now, finally, into the last and winning goal from Matheus Cunha. So just before we go on into analysing this final Cunha goal, Arsenal conceded 3+ goals in a match for the first time since December 2023, ending a run of 121 matches across all competitions without conceding more than twice. So we are going to go on now to talk about the final goal, but for me, I did not think we were going to go there and score 3 goals. I didn't think we were going to go there and score 1 goal, but Cunha, Mbeumo, Dargu, Mainu for this goal, more importantly, what I'm going to talk about, what I mentioned just before in that segment. I actually can't believe we've gone there and done this. I'm not going to lie. I can't believe we've gone there and done it and come back so often. So, again, same principles. We've got the 4-2-3-1, and this side, we've gone from the Dargu goal on the right-hand side, and now we're pushing it along, and we're going to go stand on this side. And don't get me wrong, Arsenal, also compact as anything. Now, the ball goes long, and I guess I want to speak about this again, Michael Carrick's in-game management. Now, I can't tell you how many decisions he's got spot on so far in his Manchester United career. He started in Mbeumo. Mbeumo scored in the Manchester derby. He brought on Cunha. Cunha assisted for the ruled out goal, but also got the assist for the Dargu goal. He started Dargu left wing. The goal come from Dargu playing left wing. He comes to the Emirates. We play the exact same starting lineup, no changes. In Mbeumo, what does he do? Scores again. Everything perfect. Cunha off the bench. Sesko off the bench. Cunha scores. Who plucks the ball out of the air for the long ball? Sesko. His in-game management right now is truly remarkable so far what's going on at Manchester United, and it feels like he can't do no wrong with some of the changes he's making. So, yeah, 2 of the subs combined off the bench for this final goal, and I want to talk to you again about this vacating of the back line and how these midfielders are almost staying inside like this. Now, the ball is knocked down, as we're talking about before, we're talking about this small space, these connections, this interactivity between the lines when we're talking about Michael Carrick and Maguire saying they're going to connect through the lines. Now, this is worked in here, and as you can see, what happens is we vacate the back line and we've got 4 bodies around this centre. Now, on this goal, you can actually see Manchester United pushing all the way in there with all their players. Arsenal have got 4 players between the lines like this, and what you'll notice is Manchester United have gone completely man-to-man on this long ball. So they've got 4 across 4 at the back like this. But ahead of the ball, they are squeezing everything in behind. So they are getting as many bodies into this tight area of the midfield so they can win the ball, that second ball, that playing off Sesko, as we mentioned for the Dargu goal before. They are looking for that second ball to bounce down and then to have this amount of bodies in the midfield to have that numerical advantage against Arsenal. Now, what happens is we're completely man-to-man across the back line, but it's more positionless in this area of the pitch. So what happens is the ball is worked down, Mainu, Bruno, Cunha, play off the cuff in here, nice little 1-2s, little combinations. That Mainu, as we mentioned before, connecting, knitting, them words we're talking about, these little stabbed passes through the lines, nutmegs Declan Rice, it falls to Cunha on the edge like this, and Arsenal's back line flattens. Sesko actually makes a diagonal run in behind like this, carries the back line just that touch further, and then bang, you've got Matheus Cunha in his hot zone on the edge of the box to wrap a ball into that far corner. And again, the intentions, the risk nature of the game, Manchester United earn their own luck, and it's 3-2. And Manchester United go on to win the game. Now, honestly, it was absolutely brilliant. I think it wasn't as good as a performance as Manchester City, but you were going to a much harder team, in my opinion, and you're away from home, more importantly. And this is without even saying, as we've mentioned, 0.4 open play expected goals from Arsenal accumulated in this game, the fourth lowest in the Premier League so far in their season. This is without even mentioning the same principles on the back foot as what we've seen against Manchester City. Again, we're talking about that zonal stuff. We're talking about them playing a lot more space orientated. But if I push it back like this, the same principles happened when we had Dorgu splitting this position. Remember, we talked about Manchester City. We talked about how they like to get in between. Arsenal like to do the same, but usually it's with the fullbacks. So what do Manchester United do? Hincapié goes and stands there. We get Ahmad inside like that. It's the same principles. It's zonal. We're timing our jumps onto the press, as I mentioned before, for the Arsenal first goal that they scored. Mbeumo goes more man-to-man, doesn't stay in the zone, goes a bit more, presses a little bit more, and Dalot recognises that, shouts at Mbeumo, but then what do? They get it right for the rest of the game. And we're talking about luck, we're talking about this risk averse, we're talking about all this, but Arsenal really did look toothless in the entire game from open play. For all their territory, all their possession, all their suffocation around Manchester United's block, it didn't really look like they were going to, break us down. I don't know. Lamans was absolutely brilliant in terms of coming for the corners. Harry Maguire won every single duel, both on the ground and in the air. Martinez, most line-breaking passes. I thought Dalot, the way he approached his 1v1s was really good. Never give Saka a sniff when he even moved over to the left-hand side. Luke Shaw, the same. Kobbie Mainoo covered the most distance of any Manchester United player on the pitch. Unbelievable. Again, that tight-knitted stuff, the second ball stuff for both the goals, for 2 of the 3 of the goals. The running, everything perfect. Casemiro, box defending at its finest and playing this more zonal in between the lines. Ahmad, Dorgu, Cunha, Mbeumo, Bruno, I can't really fault any of them, and I think the individuals are currently delivering, and it's now the time that Manchester United fans want to see more of this, and we want to keep going, want to keep pushing. But I am absolutely buzzing, if you can't tell. I'm absolutely buzzing in the studio. And Fulham's a completely different test for all the other reasons. Can Manchester United get on the ball? Can Manchester United play forward? But I'm seeing a lot of good stuff right now, and I'm getting really excited. Really, really excited. And I hope you are too, because it's been really bad this season at some points. And now we're 4th. We've got 1 game a week. We've seen 2 of probably the biggest wins when the fixture list comes out that we could have had this season. And we have been absolutely outstanding. And don't let anyone try and take the shine off a result like this and a performance like this, because as I mentioned before, Arsenal conceded 7 goals in 16 games in all competitions at their place before this game was played. We just went there and scored 3. And you cannot really say that it weren't deserved, because Arsenal never looked like scoring, and we were prepared to take a risk to win the game to score. So, yeah, if you did enjoy, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Overlap Breakdown channel, and let us know how happy you have made with Michael Carrick's first 2 games in charge as Manchester United manager, and we'll catch you next time on the Breakdown. Thank you.